This is Starting Out Bright, and I am Noreen Savage. I'm so glad that you could come tonight, and you are in for a treat with Chris and Deanna Ley here tonight. But before we get started, in case we have not met, I just want to tell you a little bit who I am and who I am not. First of all, I am nobody official with Bright Line Eating, but the program has done a lot for me, and I got acquainted with it through my friend Lori, who posted on her private Facebook page 1 year after she got started, and she told everybody, she told the world that she lost 57 pounds with this program, and if anybody was interested, they could just send her a message and she would connect. And so my hot little fingers got over to Messenger as fast as they could, and I was told by Lori, she proceeded to tell me that there's a book by Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson called Bright Line Eating. And in the book, Dr. Thompson talks about 4 bright lines that you don't cross. No sugar, no flour, 3 meals a day and weighed in measured portions. And when I heard all that, I felt sunk. I thought there is absolutely no way I could do anything as crazy and extreme as Bright Line Eating. But I really like my friend. She's a really smart gal. And we decided to go for lunch, and she told me more about the program. She suggested 2 things: that I get the book and that I get into a group called, at that time, it's still around, We Eat Bright with Lines. It's a private group. And since then, there are many groups, including Starting Out Bright, which is a private group associated with these Zoom chats. And there's Bright Line Official, which is a public group, and so on. There are 50 or more. Anyway, I got into the group, I bought the book, and I just sat for 2 months observing. And I saw in this group people losing weight, like a lot of weight, not just 5 or 10, but 50, 100, 150 pounds. And my hope just started to rise. And I told myself, if I lasted 1 year, I would do what my friend Lori did. I get choked up. I would post on my Facebook page, and I would help anybody I could. Well, I'm a Christian, and that year came up, July 2020. I'm getting ready to post, and just before I'm a Christian, and God says, Noreen, you can do more than that. You could connect people. This is the time of Zooms. What if you got these people who you have been so inspired by to be able to share their story with those who need help, some hope, and a little bit of just good information? And that's how the Zooms began. And I have been so amazed by the people who have stepped up and said yes when a complete stranger sends a message. Would you be willing to share your story? That's how we have Chris and Deanna here. And as I said, I saw Deanna post on the Bright Line Official group. It was very amazing because it was only a few days over 100 days. Mm-hmm. And she was saying, you can do it too. Here are Chris and I, and we have lost, what was it, close to 100 pounds already? And it was just so amazing. I just had to reach out, and you got back, and here we are. And so I told a little bit about my story, and we got a chance to talk the other day just for a little bit and had a good time.
We did.
We went over all the diets that we both all been on, we've just done all the things. So if you could just bring us up to speed, we'll kind of skip over the dieting part because we want to go through a lot of stuff. But sure. Where were you mentally and physically before you approached Bright Line Eating?
Sure. I'll start. That's okay.
Please.
So I was probably at my lowest of the lows. I would say out loud, I hate the way I look. I mean, self-loathing was running rampant inside of my brain. I would look at my husband, who has never said a negative thing about my weight. He's never commented on it negatively. And I would say, I don't get it. I don't get how you're attracted to me when I look like this. And so the negative self-talk in my brain was at an all-time high. I would look in the mirror, and the only word I can come up with that best describes how I felt about myself is disgusted. I would look in the mirror and be disgusted with myself. He didn't know how much I weighed. As his health journey was kind of up and down, there was a point where he was very, very close to what I weighed. And that made me feel hopeless, because I thought, I've tried everything. I actually had myself talked into believing that this is the weight that God wanted me to be. Otherwise, he would make it easier for me to lose weight. Because I had tried all the things. I had tried them, and I would lose 10 pounds, and then it would creep back up, and then I'd lose 10 pounds. And there was one point where I had lost 20 pounds, and I thought, great, now I'm on a downward trajectory, and it didn't stick. And it didn't stick because I don't think that I felt worthy enough to take pride in myself, to love myself enough to choose different.
Right.
I had myself convinced that that's what I was supposed to look like, and that's who I was supposed to be, but I felt horrible. I would wake up more tired than I was before I went to sleep. I would get out of bed and feel like an elderly woman, roll out of bed, aches and pains and everything. And I'm 48. I'm by no means, the person who should feel that way. I had massive heartburn. Originally, I was taking ranitidine, which 2 pills a day of that, which they took it off the market because it causes cancer. And I was on that probably for 5 years, 2 pills a day. And once they took it off the market, I was distraught because I'm like, how am I now going to live with this heartburn every day? And ended up switching to famotidine, which who knows down the road, maybe that will cause cancer as well. But I felt disgusting. I thought I looked disgusting. And I ended up seeing a photo of ourselves. We had just attended a music trivia night with friends. Yeah. We had gorged ourselves on NMF and NMD. And then afterwards, we get together for this group photo. And that's the photo that you see for what we're using as our before photo.
Yeah.
And it was that photo that I was done. I was done. And that was in early September, late August of 2021. But I had no clue. I had no clue what my answer was. I actually went back to Weight Watchers for a week, ended up falling off of that. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't have an answer, but I know I can't do this and I can't be like this anymore.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about how we found Brightline in a minute, but I want Chris to share where he was at.
Well, for me, again, from a man's perspective, I would roller coaster 20 pounds down, 30 pounds up, 10 pounds down, 15 pounds up, just back and forth. And I also had some of the same feelings that Deanna did, like, well, this is it. This is as good as it gets. I'm 53 years old. I can't be active anymore. I can't do these things anymore. So I might as well just accept it. And I didn't have the same disgust with my body that she had, but I did have quite a bit of concern with the inner workings. My blood work was horrible. I was pre-diabetic. I was more concerned about my life being here for a long period of time, as opposed to literally just going to sleep and not waking up. I was scared that might happen. And the big issue for me when it came to my weight was I also didn't have confidence that I could do anything about it, because I had tried a lot of stuff, maybe even some gimmicky stuff, but even things that other people had shown proof on and ability on, I couldn't do. It just wouldn't work for me. And it was very frustrating for me because I knew that I was an athlete when I was younger. I knew that I could still do athletic things, but I didn't have that drive, that ability anymore, because I just kept putting on the weight. And I had a very unhealthy food issue, not so much in the sugars and the sweets, but in the quantity. And I shared this with Noreen. I would sit down and eat a whole large pizza, crust and all, by myself, and I thought that was normal.
Yeah.
You know, and my unhealthy attitude toward that was, hey, you know, I'm not hungry, or I'm not full, I should say. So I'm going to eat the whole thing. And I would eat again in a couple of hours, you know, even after eating a whole pizza. So I just had this really strange, unhealthy quantity issue with food, as opposed to the types of food, you know.
Well, it's ringing a bell with me so much, Chris, what you just said, as far as not ever feeling full.
Yeah.
It just kept on going.
Never felt full. I thought a serving size of Fig Newtons was a sleeve. Eat the whole thing.
We laugh now, but yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I didn't pay attention to those types of things. I didn't care to pay attention to those types of things. I didn't look at what was in my foods. I just knew I wanted to shove it in my mouth. And it was always something where I felt like I was still hungry, but it really wasn't hunger. It really wasn't.
No.
I mean, there's no possible way it could have been.
No. And I think that the book describes some of that, but let's get into, so you found Bright Line Eating. How did you find it?
Well, Deanna told me I had to do it.
Well, there you go.
And I'm a smart man.
A sensible man in our midst.
That's right.
So TikTok, actually. Emily Rose on TikTok, which I think a lot of people from Bright Line Eating found her through social media. And I'm a recipe junkie. I love finding people's recipes and either mimicking them or changing things up to make them my own. And I was just scrolling TikTok, and there is this woman making carrot fries. And I'm like, carrot, what are those? And so I watched the video. And then in the video, she said she had lost 120 pounds over the course of like not 10 months, 10, 11 months or something like that. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. So I looked at more of her videos, and that's where she mentioned Bright Line Eating. Yep. And people, I'm looking at the comments, I'm like, what is this? I've never heard of it. Something new I can latch onto. And little did I know it would be life-changing, that one TikTok video. And so I immediately downloaded the book on Audible. Mm-hmm. I was out doing yard work, and it took me about 2.5 hours to do what I needed to do outside, started listening to it, came back inside, did things I needed to do inside, still listening to it. I listened to the entire book in about a day and a half. But that day alone, I probably listened to 5-6 hours of it. And for the first time in my life, I had hope. I had hope. The things that, and I call her SPT, we're on that kind of, close-knit, we're like this. Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson, SPT for short. I felt like she was talking right to me. Anybody that's been in church and, the pastor, the preacher is giving a sermon and you feel like he's like zeroing in on you.
That's a spotlight on you.
Yes, that's exactly how I felt. Because I felt for the first time that I wasn't crazy. Mm-hmm. Some of the thoughts and the feelings I had surrounding food, the research on the sugar and the flour and what it does to your body and how its goal is to latch on to every aspect of you. But then when I got to the saboteur chapter and how it talked about the saboteur and self-perception, it hit home because she talked about her story of how she hated herself and she was disgusted with herself and the self-loathing and the stories in the book and how people had changed their life. And I didn't even know what the program was at that time, but I was already bought in. I'm like, I don't know what I have to do, but let's do it. And so when she told the 4 bright lines in chapter 6, I was already bought in. I'm like, whatever it is, this is my answer. The switch was flipped. And I said, yeah, I said, this is my answer. And because I had hope and belief in what everything that she said, I knew, like, without a shadow of a doubt, this was it.
Yeah. And
I pretty much told him, like, this is what I'm doing. This is what things are going to look like going forward. I do 99% of the cooking. He's a great grocery shopper. Love that. Absolutely love the fact
I'm the mule. I go and get the stuff.
But I love to cook. And so I knew that whatever I cooked, he would eat. And so I'm like, this is what we're doing. And if you want to do it, that's great. If not, that's cool too. But this is how I'm going to go forward with the way that we eat.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, this is going to be the most selfish thing I've ever done for myself. This is a selfish journey. I would love to have you on it with me. But we're going to make sure we run a separate program because I can't be responsible for you and you can't be responsible for me. And he's like, let's do it.
Yeah, it just made sense to me, though. That's also, I mean, for me, it was a logical understanding. These things are not healthy for you. They're not good for you. These habits are there. You already have these. You're in a society that is surrounded by food and drink everywhere you go. Everything revolves around that. But you have the ability to say no. You have the ability to do what's right for you. And you have to put that armor on to be prepared for the naysayers or the questioners that are going to look at you funny, but they're not on your journey and you're not trying to make them be on your journey. This is for you. And that selfishness that Deanna talked about also made sense to me. I want to be the very best Chris that I can be. And I couldn't do that by being just incredibly unhealthy in my eating habits.
So I need to jump in here when we talked, I made the assumption that, wow, you're both so supportive of each other and it's always been that way. And you brought up a word that really surprised me, and it was codependency.
Mm-hmm.
And how that was actually important you did the work on being codependent.
Yeah.
You did the work already. So here you are now in these selfish roles, whatever you want to call it. I call it, and I think we decided it's taking ownership of your own.
Right.
But if you could just talk a tiny bit about the codependency, and I know you even got a couple books that helped you. How do you evolve out of that? I mean, I know the short version, if possible. Where do you go from there to here in codependency?
Well, if I can start a little bit, even the fact that I never mentioned Deanna's weight or never challenged her, the way we ate and the things that we did, even though I never did that, that's kind of a form of codependency in and of itself, where I was just going along to get along.
Mm-hmm.
And
we used to be each other's worst accountability partners.
Right.
We had no healthy boundaries with each other. And we were enablers. We would enable each other's poor behaviors, make excuses for each other. I'll let you finish.
Yeah,
is that what you mean by just like if someone is now on like Weight Watchers and the other one's like, well, let's go get some donuts.
No, that's kind of that's more of the that's more of the saboteur. But it was one of those things where I knew that we weren't doing things healthy.
Yeah.
But I never stood up and said anything about it. She never stood up and said anything about it. But the codependency issue is one where you're really basing everything that you feel or you go through based upon how that other person affects you.
Yes.
So Deanna used to say this when the kids were little. Hey, I wake up every day in a great mood, and I'm only in a bad mood because of the things you do.
So bad.
And it's really not true.
Yeah.
You have a choice and everything that you do to decide whether to continue that good mood or make that bad mood happen and blame other people, be codependent upon that activity, codependent upon their day. If, just because somebody's in a bad mood around you doesn't mean you have to be in a bad mood.
And that's it. So we were enmeshed. We had an enmeshed relationship where how he acted is what I took on. If he
Yep.
was in a bad mood, that meant
Versa.
I was had to be in a bad mood too. And then we had unhealthy boundaries where, he'd get upset about something and then all of a sudden it became my problem to fix.
Right.
Or something would happen in my life and then all of a sudden he would, jump to my rescue in a way that didn't help me work through the issue. He was trying to solve the issue for me. And so there was no independence in our relationship because we were so dependent on what the other person was thinking or feeling to determine what we would think or feel. It just created this cycle of craziness, really, that spun us out of control to a place where we didn't like each other very much.
And this had nothing to do with our eating, but we work together. We run a business together. So we had to work through the codependency issues.
We're talking seven years ago or so.
We had to work through those codependency issues of working together and that attitude issue, but we never worked through the codependency issues of our food issues.
Yeah.
Right.
Those were still very enmeshed. And Brightline was a good place for us to be able to find our independence and be responsible for our own lines and not judge or be swayed by the other person's decisions on how they manage their lines.
See, when we get into more than one person in a household doing bright lines, in my opinion, it's not just easy peasy. I would think that it's actually the opposite because you could be dependent. Well, if they're going to blow it, I'm going to blow it.
Right.
And so to be able to take ownership, no matter if the sun is shining or not, no matter, if somebody got into trouble or not, no matter if there's a pandemic or not,
right.
It's taking ownership. And I think that is really important. So I just wanted to get that piece in, that it's just not just a easy thing going in unless you're prepared to do it.
We talked about that.
Well, you also have to take, I'm sorry, but the other side of that coin is a person can't be a dictator to the other person's bright lines, because that's going to be destructive too. It's going to create resentment. That's why it has to be a personal decision. There has to be that driving why, and you have to rest on your why, not another person's why or their approach, because you can't have a dictatorship and you can't have a go along to get along situation.
Right. Neither will work.
No.
So how do you do your program?
Well, we have a great question. Did you prep similar food together or different menus? Some of the things that we eat are different, but the majority of them are relatively the same. What I found about myself with Brightline is I could literally eat the same thing for breakfast every day. I could eat the same lunch every day. I could eat the same dinner every day, because my mind has switched that food is fuel. It's not a treat. It's not something that I have to go over and above for. So for me, it's very automatic. But, we'll talk more about that. But yes, we do have some differences in how we go about food.
So we prepare our foods separately. Unless, dinner time, we're eating the same exact thing, then he'll make mine if I'm in the middle of something, or I'll make his. I'm so excited. We just got our second food scale in the mail today. So we would talk to each other like, are you hungrier than me or am I hungrier than you? And whoever was hungrier at that very moment
got to the scale first.
Who would get to have the scale first.
Right.
Now we don't have to worry about it.
Now it's just anarchy. Anybody can eat. No.
Tonight we prepared our meals separately. But yes, for breakfast, I make my own meal. He makes his own meal. We eat right about the same time, so that helps too, but sometimes we're on different schedules. For lunch, he has his go-to. Mine's similar, but I have my go-to as well. And so we really operate separate programs, but are each other's encouragers. And that's where the codependency being broken all those years ago has really helped out with this, because I could be nice and I could make his lunch every day for him. But I think the more
ownership,
the more, like, if I were to make his breakfast, lunch, and dinner, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, then he would become more reliant on me doing his program for him.
Right back into that cycle.
Than him taking full ownership of it. And it wasn't like I'm not making your food for you. You do it yourself. It wasn't like that at all. It was just, I'm responsible for me. You're responsible for you.
And I like the ownership.
Yeah.
I like making my food, even though it might be exactly like hers. I like making it myself, because that just is another badge of ownership that I have in Bright Line Eating.
Mm-hmm.
And now when you say make it, there's a caveat there that some of it's already been prepped. Because I know that is like way up there on your list of fun things to do, is plan and prep, right? Let's just talk about that for a minute.
Sure.
I get the grocery list. That's all it is.
Oh, get out of the camera. This is my time, because I'm the meal. I'm the prepper. Okay, so I 100% believe that this, in order to be successful in this program, it takes preparation, both mentally and with your food. And I'm not a food journal person. I don't write down what I'm going to eat the night before. What I do is make sure that everything in our refrigerator at any point in time is ready for me to put together into a meal.
Yeah.
So give an example of that.
Sure. So for breakfast yesterday, I'll talk about yesterday. I wanted oatmeal. And I'm a choice person. So I love the freedom inside of the Bright Line Eating program to still have choices.
Yeah.
And so I felt like oatmeal. And so I already had my cherry berry blend that it comes frozen from Aldi in the huge bag. I love it. I already have it defrosted in a Ziploc container. So I don't have to spend the 3 minutes defrosting it in the microwave before I add it to my oatmeal and then cook it again. So I have it already in a Ziploc container. So I can just measure out 6 ounces of that cherry berry blend, add the ounce of oatmeal, and then, I add my pumpkin spice mix, pumpkin pie spice mix that doesn't have any sugar. No sugar. Aldi has a great one. And you'll hear me talk about Aldi a lot. I should get paid. That's how much I talk about them and shop with them.
We just got a new one around the corner, so I'm all ears.
Oh my goodness.
You're going to love it.
Yeah. And then while the oatmeal is cooking, I whipped up 2 eggs. I use my NutriBullet. It's a little trick I learned. I put 2 eggs into my NutriBullet and I let it froth till it gets pretty thick. And it expands the egg to a point where if you feel like you're getting more. Just whipping it by hand is fine, but when you put it in a NutriBullet or a Ninja, it's great. And then I make a little omelet. So
check.
Yeah. Exactly.
Thing to get.
Other days, because we're busy, people for a living, we run a business networking organization. If we have to leave for the day, I'll have these lemon, poppy seed, cherry berry loaves, mini loaves that are ready to go. On busy mornings, you don't want to think. You don't want to be in front of a stove for 5 minutes even. So you just grab it, put it in the microwave. It's ready to go.
Yeah. Or the rice omelet.
Yeah, the cheesy rice omelet. And anybody who wants recipes or wants any information on the food that we make, please reach out to me. I'm happy to share whatever. Everything I've gotten from either the BLE cookbook or from other Facebook groups. Like I said, I'm a recipe junkie. But at any point in our refrigerator, I will have a and we do turkey a lot. We found that red meat actually doesn't make us feel so good.
No, it messes with our digestive system.
So I do a lot of turkey. So ground turkey that's seasoned Italian with Italian seasoning, ready to go acorn squash. We're so prepped that even canned carrots or canned green beans, they will already be in a Ziploc container in the refrigerator. So we don't have to think about opening a can of green beans and draining it. Like, you just grab it out of the fridge and then you measure out 6 ounces and you're ready to go.
So
It makes it.
When do you do that? Like every weekend or what?
Sundays are usually my prep days. So we'll either grocery shop on Saturday or grocery shop on Sunday. And then I do a lot of my prep on Sunday. But we're in a weird cycle right now where sometimes, especially like my chili that I know we'll talk about and everybody will want the recipe for, which I got from somebody else on the Bright Line group. And I think Noreen found who actually came up with that.
It's on the slideshow. It's on there with credit to the person who created it.
It's a turkey pumpkin chili.
Oh.
And I kid you not, y'all, we've had it probably 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
For almost the entirety of our program.
Right.
Wow.
That is where automaticity kicks in. I don't have to think about food because I have a stock pot of chili and I know I get 14 ounces. He gets 16 ounces of it. We measured it out the very first time. I make it the same way every time. When it's dinner time, I put 14 ounces in a bowl. I heat it up. I make my 4-ounce salad with a half an ounce of dressing and it's there. It's done. And everybody's like, aren't you tired of chili? I'm like, no.
Oh, it's so good.
Easy.
Not
Super
only
easy.
that, I saw you had a picture of some chili in a Yeti.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like you took it to travel with like some kind of event. And I'm like, well, how smart is that? You have soup in a
because we people for a living, sometimes we have evening events. And I'm very particular about the timing of when I eat.
Yeah.
Like if I'm walking into an event that starts at 6:30 is usually when we eat dinner. I will bring that food with me and I will eat it before I walk into the event because the last thing I want to do is be tempted. I don't want to walk into an event hungry. Everything is focused on food with everything that we do.
Yeah. When you're talking about these happy hours and these events that you go to, the luncheons, the breakfast meetings, all these different things, you're always going to be tempted by the donuts or
NMF.
Oh, sorry. NMF. I'm sorry. The not my food's always going to be there. The not my drink, the NMD is going to be there. But if you plan for it, if you know it's going to be there, you can thwart that by planning ahead and not walking into it hungry, not walking into it without some sort of a plan in place that says, hey, when everybody else is getting ready to do their NMF, I can pop open my Yeti and have my chili. And if anybody asks me about it, hey, I do Bright Line eating and this is my dinner for tonight. It's good for me. And there you go. If they don't like it, that's okay. They don't have to like it. Right. Remember, this is not for them. It is all for you.
And that has to be okay with you.
You have to be strong enough. You have to put that armor on. We talked about this the other night, Noreen. You have to put the armor on that most people are going to look at you cross-eyed and they're going to look at you as if you come from another planet when you turn down the NMF and the NMD. But that's up to them. That's their decision to make, but it has no effect upon you because they're not the ones that have to live your life.
Right. And
we've been heckled. We've had people say, well, that's too strict, or that sounds crazy, or I could never do that. And we've been made fun of, when I have an ounce of salad more than I'm supposed to, and I'm picking out, I don't like the cabbage. So I'm picking out the cabbage pieces until I can get right to exactly my perfect amount.
Well,
and it's okay. It's okay.
I got to bring up the scale then, as long as we're talking about the perfect amount. You have introduced a word, Deanna, on Facebook, BLE official, gamification.
Yeah.
It's getting attention and traction, and there's a good reason for it. It's because it works. But can you talk about that just a little bit?
Sure. So being business owners, I had taken a productivity boot camp a couple years ago.
Mhm.
And he talked about gamifying your to-do list, gamifying, making a game out of the things that you do so your brain gets excited. There's like a little reward, a little ping when something you do is thought of as a game that you can be rewarded or win at. And the food scale to us is gamification at its finest.
I would love it if our scale like went ding, 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 ding or something. Oh, that'd be awesome. Maybe we'll invent that, Noreen.
I think that'd be great.
You guys are all in on this. We're all gonna
A little bit of a huddle here.
But how cool. I mean, I think to myself, and I do it all the time. Deanna will hear me when I'm like,
from the other side of the house.
when I'm dishing something out and I'm putting it into the bowl and I'm supposed to have exactly 4 ounces. And that spoonful that I put in was exactly 4 ounces. I'm like, yes,
It's like, boom, baby.
boom, baby. Because it's fun. I hit it. I nailed the mark or literally maybe I have to take 1 bean out of my chili to make it the perfect amount. And I'm like, that 1 bean, but it's fun because I now look at it as that challenge of getting the right portion in my body of the good food that fuels me to be healthy. Mm-hmm. And I've won that game.
Yeah.
And even, again, when I finish that meal and I do feel satisfied and I feel full and I know I've finished everything properly, I won that game. And it's those small increments of winning that gamification help to teach your brain that you're having fun in this process all the time.
Yeah. Instead of looking at it as a chore, like, I got to weigh my food out again. The weighed portions is my favorite line. It really is, because I get so much joy out of it. Here's how funny I am. Every lunch, for the most part, I do mandarin oranges and grapes. Well, grapes come in different sizes, right?
Right.
So I'll do 3 mandarin oranges and then however many grapes it takes to get me to 6 ounces. Well, sometimes I put in too big of a grape and then I take it out and I look in the bag for a smaller grape and I put it in. And if it's too few of ounces, then I'll take it out and I'll find it until I get to that perfect. I know it's the funny.
Perfect grape.
Somebody might think, what the heck is she doing?
I know.
And the time,
I hold a blueberry in my hand. I mean, it's really a brain game and you're making it fun. I think that's really great. And we do need to have them like ding, ding, ding and all that. I think would be really fun. I want to bring up something as you're talking about the really important things in your program too. And, making something fun is actually the endorphins are moving, in your brain and, that makes things work too. But Deanna, when you said there are 2 things, one had to do with the mantra, hunger is not an emergency. Mm-hmm. What did you mean by that? That was one of your main points that has been important to you?
So my 3rd day into the program, I had not thought ahead. I was at an event, ended up being there a lot longer than I expected. My brain is telling me that I'm starving. You're hungry, you're hungry, you're hungry. There's NMF and NMD all around. I'm caught up in conversations. It's past my dinner time. I am literally sending myself into anxiety because I'm like, okay, there's grocery stores around here. Where can I stop and get something? Because I'm hungry and I need to eat now. Yeah. I still had to go to the grocery store. I forgot to tell you this, Noreen, but that night I still had to go to the grocery store because we were out of salad. And that was the plan. The plan was I was coming home and I was making this, but I had to go to the grocery store. So I'm late. I'm hungry. I have no food, no plan. And that right there sent me into such a tizzy that I'm like, never again. And I think truthfully, that's why the planning and the prep and thinking about our day and what we're going to eat, it really plays a big part in our success. But I learned that night, and I got it from SPT, hunger isn't an emergency. But in my pre-BLE days, if I even sensed I was hungry, I was a grazer. I would go grab, a couple things out of the pantry, or I would, make myself a shake, or I would do something to satiate what I thought was hunger. So I was always eating, even though it was something little, I was always eating because I thought, oh, you're hungry, you need to eat. And I have learned to make hunger my friend. I actually welcome it now. When I am hungry, I know that at some point I'm going to be able to eat. I'm not going to go without food. I have food at home. Even if I'm 2 hours away from being able to have my next meal, I know that that time is coming. It will be here before I know it. So drink some water, or, have a LaCroix, or do something, busy yourself in a way that passes the time. And so now when I get hungry, I know that it's my body doing what it's supposed to do. It's my metabolism working. And I'm like,
yourself like an out of body experience.
Burn that fat.
Hunger.
Burn it.
It's like hunger's your buddy.
Yeah, it really is. I don't mind it anymore. It doesn't scare me. It doesn't freak me out.
And it really does indicate that your body is doing what it's supposed to be doing.
It's shocking.
The things that, again, she talks about, early man would go massive amounts of time between feeding, and that was okay. We don't have to necessarily do that because of the society we live in and the means of having food. Society. But we can avoid the instant gratification.
Right.
We can avoid the having the snacks before the meal, because we really don't need them. We have to just turn ourselves into that person, that individual who realizes, hey, I'm going to get to my next meal. It's going to be fine. I'm going to have some water. This hunger is a good thing. Mm-hmm. It's a good thing.
It's so interesting because for especially someone new tonight, to understand when you get into the first 5 chapters of the book, and Susan's talking about all this, the science behind a lot of what's going on here. So many things are covered. Like, it's almost an out of body experience now for me. Like, what you're going through, Noreen, right now is called a willpower gap. Or now you're metabolizing. Before was like, where's the sleeve of Fig Newtons?
Right.
We don't want to talk about anything else. But that was one thing. And the other thing you talked about is measurement on the scale, or maybe not. And not the food scale on this way, but measuring your success.
The body scale.
Yeah.
Right.
So I have had a love-hate relationship with the scale that you stand on that takes your weight for years and years.
Same.
I decided very early on in this program that I was going to detach emotionally from the number on the scale. Because I have a really, really great friend, one of my best friends. Her name's Hannah Baumeister. She's a certified nutrition coach, and she started right around the same time we did. Yep. And we had lots of conversations about the emotional attachment that people have to the number on the scale. And I thought, in order for me to be successful in this program, I have to be completely opposite of how I've always been with other programs. And so not putting all of the merit of how my day is going to turn out. If the number on the scale is less than I thought it was, yay, it's going to be a great day. If it's more than I thought it was, it's a horrible. No, I took emotions out of it and realized it's one of many tools that can gauge me and how I'm feeling and what's going on in my body and your body on this journey.
Yeah, the non-scale victories actually mean quite a bit more to me than the scale victories, because, as Deanna likes to point out, the scale can be a trickster, especially for women. Different times you can retain water, you can go through different things that men typically don't go through, and that scale could very much be that trickster that's causing you to look at that number and feel less than. But those non-scale victories of the inches going down, the energy level being higher, the sleep being amazing.
You're healing from the inside out. I don't think a lot of people realize what we have put our body through for years and years and years.
Yes.
It takes time for it to heal. We didn't get this way overnight. It's going to take a very long time to heal. So do my joints ache less? Am I not taking famotidine twice a day? Like, those are the things that matter. The number on the scale is one of numerous ways you can gauge. And it breaks my heart to see in the Bright Light Official group when people put so much merit into that number on the scale without looking at all of the other things going right. all of the other things. Did you sleep good last night? You know, is your hair shinier? Are your nails growing longer? You know, are you not, can you walk up the steps without getting out of breath? So I encourage everybody, take photos of yourself. I take photos on our start date, which is the 26th of every month. Yep. I take photos, the exact same photos of my face, the exact same photos from like here up. I take photos from here and here. And then every once in a while, I take full body photos. Those are a little bit trickier for me still, but, and then.
I think that's great. Lynette here said, take those measurements. I got to say something too. Take a look behind you at Snoopy.
I know. So
and this is like a thumbs up. They've got a Snoopy dog that just keeps on nodding yes, and I agree, Snoopy.
So I am unapologetically the biggest Snoopy fan on the planet.
Yeah.
And he is all over. I've got a whole wall
if
of him
you
over
can
there.
see it to our left over here.
And yes, that's my bobbing head Snoopy. And he says he agrees with all of you. That's right. We're on the right path. We're all on the right path.
Yeah.
We got this. We got this.
But take your measurements, take photos, write down. I love the gratitudes that she suggests, but write down gratitudes about how you feel. What have you noticed in your body today? Have some clothes that didn't fit that you're keeping handy that you try on once a month. You know, are they getting looser on you? Gauge yourself in more ways than just the scale, because the scale is a trickster.
It's a trickster. It can be. Yeah.
So what are other non-scale victories that you've experienced? Has your health improved?
The health has improved. I have to go for blood to, if anybody knows how this works, I may be able to get a physical by August at the rate my doctor's going, but I need to get some blood work done. But I can tell you that I know I'm healing and I feel better regardless of what that blood work will be, because the lethargy is gone. Mm-hmm. The sleep is amazing now. The ability to do things that I was not able to do before is back. My breathing is better. My clarity of thought is off the charts because I know that I am not experiencing those same slowdowns and lowdowns from the NMF that I was just shoving in. And my body is telling me already, regardless of what I'm going to see whenever I finally get that blood work done. And that will just affirm that I know my body is healing because I know I can feel it. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is I had to buy a bunch of new clothes because it looked like I was wearing all my dad's outfits. I looked like I got the hand-me-downs. And that was really a cool feeling. I didn't want to shop for clothes. I mean, there were times where, you know, prior to BLE,
how long has it been since we've shopped?
That Deanna would be like, you really need a new pair of jeans. And I would say, well, I'm not buying any jeans until I lose weight. Right. Mm-hmm. Which was my way of saying, I don't want to go try on clothes. Ladies, guys go through it too. Okay. And I think that's really important for you to know that we do have image issues when we know that we aren't that same guy we used to be, and our belts are getting tighter. And here's something that is just heartbreaking for old Chris. I looked at some of my belts because I had to buy a new belt. I looked at some of my belts, and at my heaviest, my belt loop was tearing from the weight pressure that I was putting it under.
Wow. So
think about that, and those kinds of things. That's a victory for me to know that I'm having to buy a new belt. I will never do that to a belt again. I feel sorry for what I did to that belt.
But you throw it away?
No, I'm keeping it because it's a reminder to me of where I was and how by being disciplined and owning this, I'm never going back there again.
Awesome. What about you, Deanna? Has the mental energy changed?
Yeah, it really has. It has taken me, let me say this. I'm on a journey. I'm on a journey of self-love, healing myself and learning to love myself again. And it's tricky because we talked about this, I have a smidge of body dysmorphia going on right now, where in my head, I will have a quick thought that as I step on this scale, it's going to be back to my starting weight, which was 240 pounds. I thought I wake up sometimes like I'm going to look exactly like I look. This has all been a dream. But then I put on clothes that I haven't worn. I wore a shirt.
Yesterday.
Ladies, come on now. You know you have stuff in your closet that you've been hanging on to for like 6 different sizes because you know you're going to get back there one day until you don't want to let it go and then you have stuff on the other side of that too. But I had this shirt that I absolutely loved and it's been in my closet. I kid you not, for 10 years. Mm-hmm. Thank goodness it's still in style. So I put it on last night and in my brain, I'm like, it's not going to fit. It's not going to fit. It's going to show my rolls. And I started this negative self-talk before I even put it on. And I put it on and it was big on me.
Wow.
It was big.
And it looked amazing.
And
it's completely out of style. So, I didn't want to tell her that. Oh no, that's not it.
So I'm healing. I'm on a journey of self-love and I'm healing. And so I think those are my biggest victories are the days that I realize, look how far you've come.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a tracker on my phone. We're 144 days in and I have a long way to go. I have 57 pounds to go to get to my right size body. And I could get very discouraged and say, oh my gosh, I have so many more days, so many, and I have an app that tracks it. I have 172 more days. I could focus on that, or I can look and see how far I've come.
Yeah.
And I can count all the small victories that have gotten me to this place. But the only thing that matters is today, this moment, this day. Did I stay bright today? Because if I think about never having NMF ever again, or NMD ever again, or forever, I'm going to get super freaked out.
Right.
Or if I think about what if you go back to where you were? What if all of this is just a blip in time and you're going to be right back there in those size clothes? I will get super depressed. So today is the day that I have, and I've stayed bright today.
And that's how amazing.
Every day. That's every day. I'm like, I don't care about tomorrow. I don't care about yesterday. I only need to worry about staying bright today. If I stay bright today, that's my non-scale victory. And every day, it never fails. I can't allow myself to think too far back or too far forward because it's too overwhelming.
Yeah.
I can only control today.
What's kind of interesting, before we met, I have the advantage of having Facebook and we're friends on Facebook now. And so I had gone through I don't really know you. So I look and I see what they applied to go. They tried out for the Amazing Race.
We did.
Yeah.
Okay. And so maybe you weren't on the Amazing Race, but you tried out. And I cannot help but think of the parallel between this. It's maybe not a race that there's a finish line, but there's a race that you have to prepare every day. You have to prep every day. You have to be at your best mental every day.
Yeah.
In this race. And it's the race of good health, and long life and all of these things, and you're doing it. You are absolutely doing it. So maybe you didn't get on that race then, and maybe you'll try out again.
Next year will be our 10-year anniversary of trying out, and we will both be at our right size bodies by then. And I think that will make a great story for them.
Maybe
that'll do it.
Maybe that'll
exactly. So,
yeah.
As we're closing up here, but I want to give you an opportunity. Because I know that there's somebody here. There may be a couple here or someone who's going to be listening by YouTube or podcast. And thank you very much for letting me record this. And before I forget, Chris and Deanna have a podcast. It is called
The Good All Around Us.
The Good All Around Us. I listened to one story today, which was awesome. And there is a picture on the slideshow for those who have a YouTube in front of them. You'll be able to get the name and memory of that so you can sign up. But Today, as someone's listening, they may be where you were before you got started.
Yeah.
Or they may be a couple that, you know, their health, their mindset, the loathing, all of these things. What would you say to them about giving Bright Line eating a try?
I would say this, and it's going to be different than Deanna, I would imagine. Motivation can be very fleeting, but discipline will see you through. And Bright Line eating is a way to bring discipline into your life when it comes to your food issues. It is a way to take some of, if not all of the emotions out of this roller coaster that you've found yourself on, and look to the knowledge and experience and expertise that says, hey, I know why you feel the way you feel. I know what you've gone through. I've been there myself. That's Susan again. And here's what I've learned, and here's what I'm sharing with you so you can start to break those things down. This isn't just about eating right to me. It's about clearing my mind of those things that keep me from making the good decisions. And it's about clearing my mind of the fear. It's about clearing my mind of the old habits. And it's about bringing discipline back into my life when it comes to understanding food and no longer making food my master, but being the master of my decisions. So that's what Bright Line eating is to me.
Awesome.
What would I say? Hope. I mean, that is what attracted me to Bright Line eating. It's the commitment to living in the today, and planning and prepping to make sure that you can be successful throughout the entire day, not leaving things to chance. I think the more we leave things to chance, the more our brain and the habits we've built over a lifetime will take over. So don't leave things to chance. Give yourself the best opportunity to succeed and to know that you are more than just a number on a scale, and that you are worth it.
Yeah.
You are worth it, and this can work. It will work. Is it work? It's a heck of a lot of work.
Yeah.
But anything worth having is hard work. And I know this quote is passed around a lot, but you know, being overweight is hard. Being on a health journey, doing Bright Line eating is hard. They're both hard.
Right.
Choose your hard. So 3 months is when we realized our lives have completely changed. That's when I made that post on the 100 days. If somebody would have told me that in 3 months your life will look completely different, I don't think I would have believed them. I had to hit a rock bottom, and I think that that's what I want to get through to everybody is you have to be all in. You can't, if you dabble, I mean, yes, it's your program to create however you want it to be, but if you dabble, then your journey is going to be a journey of dabbling. But if your switch is flipped and you choose to just go all in for 3 months, I guarantee your life will look completely different.
And 3 months is going to go by either way.
Right. That's true.
It
Yeah.
is.
3 months is going to come and go.
Well, I will say that in the chat, someone said, I'm inspired right now to eat bright again today.
It's one day at a time, one meal at a time,
And so
one decision.
I want to echo what she said and what many others in the chat is to thank you so much for sharing your story. I think an important piece that I see highlighted in this is also whether you're living in the same home with somebody or maybe whoever is in your life, you cannot do it for that person.
Nope.
You have to do it for you.
Yeah.
I mean, Deanna, you said it's maybe the selfish thing,
Most selfish thing.
that you've ever done. But in a way, what I really believe is that when we get this part done, it opens us up to the service that we can provide to others.
For sure.
Right.
That selfish time right now and what we have to do in the discipline of every day opens us up to so much more of life. So
Yeah. You are worth it. You are worth it. I didn't think I was worth it or worthy, but each and every single one of us, man, woman, you are worth this for sure.
I can't thank all of you enough for being here tonight, because I think community is very important.
Yeah.
If we're on an island and trying to do all of these things by ourselves, it just makes it feel that much more difficult. But we all are on this journey together.
Yeah.
So you being here inspires me
Mm-hmm.
to continue my journey, to be there for you. And I think the important thing that I really want to share is there's no shame in how you go about doing this. I know I saw somebody say, hey, I lost my lines and now I'm back. No shame.
Guilt and shame.
Don't let guilt and shame be a motivator.
Break the cycle.
Don't break
Guilt and
that
shame.
cycle. Things happen. Life happens. We get that. But you can get right back on. No guilt, no shame, no reason for you to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because we're all in this together. And in those times of struggle, in those times of doubt, you go to the group and you see the other people that are going through this. You see the other individuals who are making that decision today, and let that be the thing that says to you, hey, I'm on the right path.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the right path. And I know that you all make me feel like I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
And this helps me. So thank you for being here tonight, everybody. It means the world to Deanna and I guarantee it.
And I need to take 1 minute and brag on Noreen. I don't know how
come
much
on.
people brag on you, and I don't know, unless you've been interviewed, if you realize how much time and dedication she puts into each of these interviews. Yeah. I'm so impressed. You said you'd have a lot to learn from us. Oh my gosh. Like, I have so much to learn from you just on your dedication to this group, to these interviews. If you spend half as much time with everybody every week as you've spent with us.
My goodness. When do you sleep?
I'm working on sleep.
She is amazing, you all. If you have not heard her story or gotten in touch with her, just sit with her, because she has lost a tremendous amount of weight on Bright Line eating. And it's such a joy. I'm so thankful that you reached out to us, and now I can call you friend.
Yeah,
I love it.
Amen.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And our time together is closed now, but the time together in community, as Chris said, that's for all of us to share. So I want to thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you so much, Chris and Deanna, for sharing your stories, for saying yes. And I'm going to close as I do each week. Good night. Stay bright. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thank you, Noreen.
How would you like to play 3-Question Thursday?
Oh, me. Pick me.
Let's do it.
3-Question Thursday. And, you had this little tiny line in your what I buy every week kind of thing. And it said, my own rotisserie mix. What is that?
So I'm a nut. Okay. I have always had this thing where I look at things, either crafty things or in the store. We'll be in a store and I'll be like, I can make that.
Yeah.
And I'll figure it out. Usually it's a craft or some kind of artsy thing. I'm a creative. But, rotisserie chicken that you buy at the grocery store is fantastic. I don't know what they do to it, but I know a lot of them are injected with sugar.
Yeah.
So I thought, surely there has to be a way to use chicken breasts but have it taste like rotisserie chicken without having a rotisserie in your house.
Or the sugar.
Yes. Or having to go to the grocery store and only get like this much chicken out of it. So I Googled a recipe to make rotisserie chicken using chicken breasts. And in that recipe, there was a recipe for rotisserie seasoning mix.
Oh,
And people don't realize I have a small obsession with spices.
okay.
We used to go downtown St. Louis about once a month to the spice shop where I would get a whole bunch of things and I'd mishmash things together as I liked them. But just so you know, there is a lot of sugar in things that you don't realize when it comes to spices.
Mhm.
There's monosodium glutamate, which I'm allergic to. And I'm also allergic to garlic and onions. So I have to be very careful. So making things myself just makes more sense to us. So I just followed that recipe. I added some other things and made my own rotisserie seasoning mix. And I'll put that in the group too.
It's
Okay.
very tasty.
It's really good. I put it on eggs now.
All
But
right.
I make rotisserie chicken breasts every single week. And I shred it up if you have a stand mixer, you can put chicken breasts that are cooked in your stand mixer and just do it slow at first. Otherwise the chicken breasts fly out.
But you can just use the paddle wand and it'll it'll shred up all the chicken for you. And then you can add that into your meals as you're prepping.
Yes. So I usually freeze half of it and then cook half of it, put half of it in a Ziploc container and that's just ready to go in the fridge.
Wow.
Sprinkle more seasoning on it.
And this is
the Spice Queen. That's right, Deb.
You have, right, Deb.
I like you, Deb. We're best friends.
No, yeah, please do put the road.
I will.
She'll put it in there.
I will.
Yeah.
We're doing it. Okay, so that was question number 1. Question number 2. So when you talk about going through the process of being out, you said you're in the people business, okay?
Mm-hmm.
How do you prepare, and maybe just flat out, what are some of the questions that people ask you and how do you respond?
I'll take a stab.
We're very public about our journey.
So I think it's really important that you stand for something or you're going to fall for anything. All right. So you know what you're doing. I'm on a path. I'm following Bright Line Eating. It's a great book. You really should check it out for yourself. And
people still think we are selling something.
And I'm not selling anything. I'm not, there's no gimmick to this. There's no quick fix.
Read a book.
You're not going to take a pill and this is going to happen. It's a book that we read. It's a book that we follow. And it's a lifestyle that we have decided is absolutely 100% for us. So when somebody says, hey, you look amazing. What are you taking? What are you doing? And I say, well, we follow Bright Line Eating. It's a book. You should buy it for yourself. I
always tell people, at least if you don't do the program, at least read the first 5 chapters because your mind will be blown.
But what about the question of, and you're never going to have sugar or flour again?
Oh yeah. You get that all.
Yeah.
We were at her reunion and they had the giant sheet of NMF and somebody was like, you mean you can never have this, as they're shoving it into their mouth? And I said, you know what? Not today. No, not today.
They have a little mantra. It's not for forever. It's just for today.
And I don't know when that ever day will happen.
Right.
I don't know that I even care if that ever day will happen, because every day it's not for today. It's not forever.
And you just keep going that way.
And another mantra we say is, I know what that NMF, especially if I get a craving.
Yeah.
I know what that NMF tastes like. I've had it before. I don't need to have it today. Maybe tomorrow will be different, but I don't need to have it today. I know what it tastes like.
Know what it tastes
I've had it before. I know what it tastes like. I don't need to taste it today.
Linda put this in there. It says, we read a book. We eat the food. Not easy, but simple.
Correct.
Linda, you are 100%.
That is 100%.
Not easy, because if it was easy, everybody would do it. But it is simple.
It can be very simple.
If you decide to, once again, put that discipline in place.
For sure.
So good stuff, Linda. Thank you.
So 3rd question, and this is kind of kind of tipping on the codependency part. You talked about a mantra, or actually maybe it's more of a saying that you say or believe. What is that? That is, I posted it in the,
Yeah. It's from this book.
And I'll put the name of the book in there in
Yeah.
the group. It's called Let Go Now, Embracing Detachment. But I have learned that other people's problems are not my problems. Like if I can help or support or encourage, that's one thing. Or if they ask for my help, that's another thing. But I've really taken on ownership of the phrase, oh gosh, no, I forgot it.
I'm not responsible.
You can't change. Here we go.
Here we go.
You put me on the spot. Now I'm freaking out. You can't change people nor expect people to change. You're not to blame for people's actions, nor are you responsible for them. Your only job is to love them where they're at. Yep. In the beginning, I used to leave that last sentence out because I would just say, I can't change people nor expect people to change. I'm not to blame for people's actions, nor am I responsible for them. And that feels good to say that. But to add that last part, my only job is to love them where they're at.
Yeah.
I can't change him nor expect him to change. If he makes a bad decision, it's not my responsibility. I'm not to blame. Mm-hmm. I am here to live my own life, have healthy boundaries with myself so I can show up to him as the best version of myself. I have to love him where he's at. You know, if he decides tomorrow to go out and have NMF or NMD, it doesn't change who he is as a person or how I feel about him. It doesn't mean he's a failure in the program. There's no guilt and shame associated with it. He made a decision. There are consequences to that decision, but it's not my job as his spouse or his partner to shame him or to be like, that's it. You're starting at day one, mister. No, it's love. You just show love to the person around you. But more importantly, love yourself enough to not take responsibility or ownership over somebody else's decisions.
And it has a lot to do with grace too. You know, we've been shown grace in life. Why not show grace to others? Give them the ability to not feel shame and guilt and being upset. Show them the grace. It doesn't mean that you have to agree with the decisions they make. It doesn't mean that you're trying to tolerate really poor decisions. That's part of loving yourself. But love them where they're at. And even if you have to love somebody from a distance, right, you're still loving them, right, but you're not piling on to them that guilt and shame that comes along with them, that they already know they've probably done something incorrectly inside of themselves. The last thing they need is for you, the person who's supposed to love them, to come along and pile on.
Yeah.
True. Wow. And you know, as you were reading that, or saying it, I was thinking that towards myself even, you know, yep, you know, to love myself as I would love someone in that way too, yeah, without the blame and shame, you know, realize mistakes made, move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, grace is powerful.
Yeah,
it really is.
And we don't give it to ourselves enough. We really don't.
Well, again, thank you so much for sharing your story on Starting Out Bright. And thank you for playing 3-Question Thursday.
Oh, you're a rock star, Noreen. You're so fun.
You're going to be like, what's your favorite color?
Oh, I was all prepared for trivia questions. The Bismarck, 1842.
Next time. Next time. Come back in a year. I'll have better questions.
Who is Alexander the Great? Oh.
We're close for now, but we'll meet again.
There we go.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Have fun staying bright.